Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the DLF Trade Show. We took a week off. That's a lie. Addison told me we're taking a week off. So if you are angry, enraged, see, look at that. Like I'm losing the ability to speak, that even I'm so worked up about this. Complain to that guy. It is all his fault. It was Wednesday morning. I'm like, all right, it's Wednesday. Let's go. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm taking a week off. Oh, okay, but we are going to bring the fire for you today because the fire is talking about tight ends.
Mm.
Mm.
No, but we love tight ends.
And we're not even talking about the top tier of tight ends. Mm. Okay, no, but this is really interesting to me because, like, I remember, especially coming in from redraft, where with redraft it was streaming was the thing. Living the Stream is a fantastically wonderful podcast and brilliant. And you get into Dynasty and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do that too. I'm going to stream. I'm going to do this. Is so much work, man. Ugh. And like it took like maybe 2-3 years of me just being like, no, this is how I play. This is what I do. I'm far too lazy for this. I'm just going to go and pay up for the good guys. So now here is always where to draw the line has always been the question. And I love episodes like this because it's usually like, what do we do? And I'm like, okay, Addison, I want to talk about these players. And I never really say why. And what I've always been, ever since getting to that point where I say, I want to just pay up for good tight ends, where's the line? Where does it make sense to trade up for? Are we just talking about the Kelsey, Andrews, maybe Pitts and Kittle? I mean, value wise, yes. Well, value wise for Pitts, production wise for Kittle. Or is it to the even like that second tier of the guys we're going to talk about today? So let's just move forward. Let's go in. And that next step, that next tight end on the list for a lot of people is Dallas Goedert. Let's find out if it's enough. Let's find out with some of these trades if he is worth it to go spend for, or should you just go higher, spend more to get more, or just wait a little longer, tone it down? Wow, you picked a big boy for the first one. All right, so 12-team Superflex League. The trade is the 101, and I'm so happy we're here. Thank you for the MFL rollover. We have picks. We have actual picks. The 101 and Dallas Goedert for Lamar Jackson and Rashad Bateman. Whew. All right, so the 101 is 734. Dallas Goedert 190 for a total of 923. Lamar Jackson 841. Rashad Bateman 211 for a total of 1051. I think you can kind of break this one for one, right? Like this kind of just feels like it could be the 101 for Lamar or Dallas Goedert for Rashad Bateman.
Right. Sure.
Except the problem is, okay, so here's the thing. Lamar should be worth more than the 101. And he is 841 to 734. You should choose Lamar in Lamar versus the 101.
Yes. Are you taking the 101?
I'm glad I'm not faced with this real life decision. I think that's really what it comes down to. To me, the answer is easily Goedert over Bateman, because if we're talking one for one there, even if they walk out of next season with the exact same points somehow, you're probably better off with the positional advantage from Dallas Goedert. Though I do think Dallas Goedert will outscore Rashad Bateman for the next few years. I think I'm taking the 101 in Goedert, and I don't think it's the right answer. I think it's the wrong answer, but the way I see it, if I think the 101 and Lamar Jackson are even enough, I think I can do more in a trade with the 101 than I can with specifically Lamar Jackson.
That was kind of where I was heading towards. Was I agree with you. Like, I really want Dallas Goedert over Rashad Bateman. That's like, I probably would have put that as part of like, let's build around Goedert and Bateman, and we can add some smaller pieces on each side to make this work, not go straight to 101 and Lamar Jackson and just blow this thing out of the world. But probably at the end of the day, if I had to take the 1.01 in order to get Dallas Goedert here, that's not like the worst thing in the world. And I would probably then be trying to send that 101 to somebody else for a quarterback replacement for the Lamar Jackson that I just lost. Maybe I go and try and target Justin Herbert or Trevor Lawrence or
And the thing
see what
is,
I can add to go get the Burrow or Hurts.
but even still, like you can go get probably Justin Fields plus a little bit for
Oh,
the
maybe.
right/wrong manager, depending on how you're looking at it. You might be able to get Trevor Lawrence plus a little bit. So like I think I've said since I stopped and actually thought about what it means to trade away the 101 in this year, I don't think I want to 1-for-1 trade away that pick. If I'm trading away that pick, I want very good quarterback, very good positional player, most likely a wide receiver, because if I need a running back, I'm just taking Bijan,
Right.
But if I'm trading down, I'm trading back, I want at least 2 players that are very, very good. Next one. Oh boy, the complete opposite end. Dallas Goedert and Jamal Williams for the 208, Kadarius Toney, Trey McBride, David Bell. So remember that time where I literally said about 30 seconds ago, even if you're rebuilding, Dallas Goedert's not a bad guy to go get? Guy to go get. Yes, I'm taking it even further.
Love it.
This is the opposite of that. This is someone who appears to be rebuilding and then just sold it for young things. And not great young things. Honestly, like I like Kadarius Toney, I like Trey McBride, I like David Bell, but this is not how you go get them. Like there's a decent chance no one on that side does anything significant in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Toney clearly has the ability to be a gadget player. You want him to be more, but we haven't seen that it's there. And he had almost, it seems like 3/4 of a season in Kansas City to get into the playbook and to get more involved into the real offense and not just fancy plays. And it still just looked like they used him for fancy plays. He did well on them. And clearly, if you get return yardage points, that helps, because even in the Super Bowl, he had a really good one.
Right.
Same with McBride. I love the idea of McBride. He started to do pretty well at the end of the season. The Cardinals offense isn't going to be the Cardinals offense for another year anyway. I don't get this. I don't get aiming so low with Goedert, who we are looking at as tight end 4, 5. The guy, like one of the guys underneath that level of top tier tight ends. Mm-hmm. Breaking him down into 4 pieces just doesn't seem the way to go.
Right. To me, 2 of the top 3 pieces in this whole entire trade are on the same side, and that's Dallas Goedert and Jamal Williams. Like for me, it goes Goedert, the 208, Jamal Williams, then the rest of the crap on the other side.
I'd put Toney above Jamal Williams.
I'd rather just have the running back,
the guy that's going to score touchdowns. I get it, but
I expect him to be back in Detroit. I think that he is a good enough flyer on a weekly basis that you're hoping that he just scores those touchdowns. If Swift is out, it is entirely Jamal Williams, and he gets a little bit of that receiving upside that Swift usually has. I'd rather just have Williams than just continue to hope in whatever Kadarius Toney might actually end up being. So yeah, to me, this is so easily the Dallas Goedert Jamal Williams side. I think it's funny that the analyzer says that it's a 50-point difference, but it's all just compilation value, and you're not getting anything of substance. And I'm just going to take Dallas Goedert and Jamal Williams and just call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, I keep giving you $1 bills. Sooner or later, it's going to be worth more than that $100 bill you have. I mean,
eventually.
The next trade is more or less along the lines of what I wanted to talk about, because it's straight up Dallas Goedert for Deontay Johnson. Now, the analyzer has it 189 to 237 for Deontay Johnson. Which are you taking here?
I'm taking Dallas Goedert. This is kind of like what you were saying with the Rashad Bateman thing, of if they're pretty comparable in terms of total points, you'd rather just take the player at the positional advantage. So I'm just going to take Dallas Goedert, a guy that I could just plug and play into my tight end position. Don't even have to think about it. And I'll take that over I really like Deontay Johnson. I think he's actually a really good buy low right now, because a lot of people seem to be really down on him because he just is so bad at scoring touchdowns that the other 8 receptions for 80 yards we just completely ignore. But yeah, I'll just take the tight end in this situation. Deontay doesn't have the ceiling or upside or I guess value at this point now to really draw me away from Goedert.
In January ADP, because they're working on February now, rookies and picks and all of that being brought over, so they had to wait a little bit. Dallas Goedert, tight end 6 at 74, and Deontay Johnson, wide receiver 30 at 58. I was trying to make the point that I would rather have some positional players over these second tier tight ends. I'd much rather have Dallas Goedert than Diontae Johnson. You need a lot of hope for Diontae Johnson. Like, you want him to be more than he was last year, which means you need the offense to get better. You need them to be able to more define the roles between Diontae and Pickens. Like, you need Pickett to, take a step forward. And I really honestly thought Goedert would be higher than this, but let's see, what do we got here? Yeah, like I really would honestly take Goedert here. Like, I'm trying to find some sort of line, some sort of something, but man, no, I would absolutely take Goedert here. But next, we're going to talk about Pat Freiermuth, and I love putting him here because he's in that tier of the second group of tight ends, a little bit lower on it, but a lot of people are higher on him, also because he's probably the youngest in this group. So in 12-team Superflex with a 0.5 tight end premium, Pat Freiermuth, DJ Chark, Jalen Warren, and Greg Dortch. Wow. So Pat Freiermuth. For George Pickens and Tyler Boyd. All right, so let's cross out Tyler Boyd and everyone else on the other side. So this is pretty much Freiermuth for Pickens. I'm stuck. This is your team. Which do you want?
So I agree that this is basically Pickens for Freiermuth. In this instance, like how before with Goedert versus Bateman or Goedert versus Diontae, we're taking the tight end. Here, I'm going to take the wide receiver because I do believe that Pickens has a much higher ceiling in terms of the type and caliber of player that he can be. And I also believe, contrary also to Bateman and Diontae, the community strongly believes that Pickens has a much higher ceiling. So I believe that there's a lot more value going on his side, and that as soon as he has that first game where it's like 8 for 101, dude, Pickens is going to be a dynasty wide receiver 1 by the end of that night.
I think between the two, I think I want Freiermuth, but I think you need a better plus with Freiermuth to give away Pickens.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Freiermuth's ADP, at least through the analyzers, listed at 90, while Pickens is at 66, but their trade value is only off by 38. So almost by a DJ Chark.
Right.
Ugh. I'm going to take Pickens here again because, man, I don't know. See, I like this. You're making me think, and that's what I wanted out of this.
There you go. That's what I strive to do with these trades. I just really want to make sure that you think about them. Nice and good.
You're the best, making sure I stay old folks like me.
You got to break a mental sweat, too.
All right, you're right, because I'm going to take Pickens because here's the thing. And this isn't even preferring a player over another. This isn't even preferring a position over another. This is the fact that we're going back to the 101 Lamar Jackson talk. I think you have a better shot of moving the young wide receiver, or even a step further down the line, like you just said, 2 games into a season, there's a very good chance that there could be a bigger spike in Pickens' value, who was already worth more in general. And even if he has 2 bleh games, his value is not going to drop because he's still 21 and really good.
Right.
Or at least, more importantly, he's 21 and has really good highlights. And not like Odell highlights, but like, catching the ball highlights. Freiermuth, it's going to be really hard for his value to go up. Like, Freiermuth needs to have a season for his value to go up.
Yeah. Yeah, he needs like a Mark Andrews level kind of thing because he's not getting there. He has good volume. Like, he had 98 targets this year. He just, the entire Steelers offense, nobody scored touchdowns on the Steelers offense. He had 700 yards. That's just, at the end of the day, that's just going to look fine, compared to everybody else. When, Kittle could do a fifth of that in a night. Kelsey and Andrews are always a tier above. Pitts will perennially be, the...
I think we have like 5 years before Pitts' value will ever actually drop.
If Brock Bowers comes in and becomes Kyle Pitts before Kyle Pitts does, then that will be how we get there.
The next one is super interesting. Michael Pittman and Pat Freiermuth for Cooper Kupp and Daniel Bellinger. Now, let me just do the values first. Michael Pittman, 348. Pat Freiermuth, 175. Total of 523. Cooper Kupp, 405. Daniel Bellinger, 35 for a total of 440. There's such a huge value difference between Freiermuth and Bellinger. I wouldn't be super surprised if Bellinger put up like 80-90% of the same production in a full season.
Yeah.
Bellinger was getting used a lot. He just happened to get his face broken. And I just like saying that out loud because he missed like 2 weeks, which makes him. No one's Anquan Bolden. Anquan Bolden came back like the next week, but Daniel Bellinger, yeah. And I mean, Cooper Kupp has easily the highest upside of all of us. It's just the fact that he's 29, which is always going to bring his value down. Yeah, I send this to go get Cooper Kupp and the wonderful little throw in of Daniel Bellinger. Even though it's 523 to 440, Kupp to me is easily enough the highest valued player to be able to move those two guys for that. Yeah, I'm here for it. So this is one of those things where I really do think I'm going to be taking the player over Freiermuth a lot because I think his value is higher than what his ceiling can be. And when we're talking about players with ceilings, using him to get players like Cooper Kupp and then still getting someone who's going to produce close enough, I think it's the right move.
That is literally exactly how I broke this trade down in my head too. Because I think Bellinger, I think I even said at some point on this channel in season when Bellinger was producing that like his ceiling is Pat Freiermuth. Like he'll never be a top 5 to 7 tight end.
But he's Dalton Schultz, which is fine.
But yeah, but he has the ability to just be this kind of good PPR-ish kind of tight end who every now and then catches a touchdown, and he's a much better player than just some random guy that you just hope scores a touchdown. Like Daniel Bellinger should have the ability to be okay on a weekly basis, consistency wise. And when I ran through from weeks 3 on in the 10 games that he played outside of that injury, his 17 game pace was 50 catches for over 400 yards and 2 touchdowns, which is basically 60% of Pat Freiermuth's production last year.
And so, that's for a rookie in a horrible I offense. Got on the waiver wire after most drafts ended.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that obviously there's a clear distinction between Pat Freiermuth who's doing it right now. Which is why
I said I don't think he's scoring Freiermuth's like
no.
You want him to get 80%.
Right.
So, but what's 40, 50 points less on a season? 2 points a game?
When you're also getting that with Cooper Kupp, though.
Yeah, and then, you're probably getting more than that from Cooper Kupp to Pittman.
Right,
though,
exactly.
I do need to say, I'm in on Pittman again because he'll have someone better than Matt Ryan. Whether they draft someone or sign someone else, it will be very hard to not be a step up from Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Or Sam Ellinger.
But it's Cooper Kupp.
That's still the answer. Yes, the answer, that's Cooper Kupp. All right, so I ruined it before, and I spoiled it before, and I teased it before, all of the above. We're going to talk about TJ Hockenson now. 12-team Superflex, TJ Hockenson and Damian Harris for Pat Freiermuth in the 209. Hockenson coming in at 271, Damian Harris 45.3 for a total of 316.4. Pat Freiermuth 175, the 209 110 for a total of 285. ADP of Hockenson 61.5 to Freiermuth's 90. Overall rank 87 to Freiermuth's 93. I guess that's not bad. A year's age difference between them. Hockenson 271, Freiermuth 175. But this is practically just a swap of, Damian Harris and the 209 are practically nothing, even though the 209 is worth a little more. Like, you're not aging down. You're like, this is Hockenson without thinking. Like, if you're a Freiermuth fan and you have Hockenson and you want to, you're not even really tiering down because to me they're the same tier, but you're stepping down and getting a plus on the other side. Yeah, I need more than the 209.
To me, Freiermuth is a tier below Hockenson, or at least what.
One's the top of the tier, one's the bottom of the tier. I think that's where I'm at.
Yeah, it's definitely that far away for sure.
Because I still feel like these are both the second tier of tight ends where you still feel good starting both of them, but neither of them will most likely win you weeks. But until the week I trade away Hockenson and he puts up 40, we've seen that
Yep.
Hockenson can do that now.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would just much rather have Hockenson, if anything, because like we said before, like 10 to 12 games out of the 17, they're probably scoring very similarly. But I think Hockenson has the ceiling that Freiermuth I don't think can get to.
Right. Yeah, that's how I feel about it too. I'm looking at it when he got traded to the Vikings through week 17. I'm not including week 18 because he barely played. But from week 9 through 17, that's half a game or half a season. He was on pace for 161 targets. He had 2 games with less than 8 targets in that 9-game stretch.
Yeah, he was,
and they were 6 and 6 targets were those 2 games.
Yeah, like he didn't dip below like 8 targets. Like
he never had below 6. 2 games below 8. That's all.
Yeah.
That's what he had.
Yeah, like he was part of that offense, and they needed him to be, even if they go and they draft a wide receiver, which they should, at with decent capital. But I don't think that matters for Hockenson. So I'm here for that. Good Hockenson. Yeah. This next one, 12-team Superflex with a full-on 2 points for tight end reception, which is a little spicy for me. But TJ Hockenson for Russell Wilson. TJ Hockenson coming in at 360 and Russell Wilson 266.5.
This is tough. This was the hardest one out of this whole entire thing for me because I don't know which way to go.
See, it's really funny. If this was offered to me and someone said something along the lines of, you need to make a decision. Like normally if this was just sent to me and I didn't know what to do, I would just reject and run away. But like, no, you need to sit and you need to tell me why. And you need to, I would honestly just go, just give me the quarterback. Like, I get that there is a 100-point difference in the analyzer between the two of them. I get what Russell Wilson's season was, but Sean Payton, but anything better than what their coaching situation was last year. Not to say that I think Russell Wilson's going to go and be a top 5 quarterback. Oh, but 2 full-on 2 points.
2 points, bro. So let me give you for reference here. So he had in that same stretch since being traded to Minnesota, only 2 games below 5 receptions. So in 7 out of the 9 games, he was scoring double-digit points just from receptions in this format. Not even including, he's doing 5 for 60, 7 for, 80, all that kind of stuff. Like he is averaging 16, 17, 18 fantasy points per game in this 2 tight end premium format.
You're the worst. I can't believe you're doing this.
I think I'm taking TJ Hockenson in this one.
The more you're talking, the more it's making me want to take TJ Hockenson.
Because I'll take the bet against Russell Wilson. Even if he has a much better season than what he had last year, which I am fully on board with the fact that he is going to. But I think we're at the point right now that we're never going to forget what he did last year. So unless he comes back and is a top 3 quarterback and literally returns to, being Russell Wilson in Seattle like 4 years ago, I don't think he's ever going to be a dynasty QB1 ever again. I think we just have him down there. Not even to mention the fact that if Russell Wilson is actually cooked, like if he's not Russell Wilson anymore, and last season was just the beginning of everything, his value is going to be shot. Whereas Hockenson, you have a 25-year-old tight end in a 2 tight end premium league who has the ability to have, 80, 90, 100 receptions if the volume that he had over the second half of the season last year on a new team is sustainable with Minnesota.
Okay, so I just pulled up a Trade Addicts League, which has the 0.75 premium. So the numbers I'm going to say are actually lower than what we're talking about in this league. TJ Hockenson from week 9 forward was the tight end 2 with 19 points per game.
Oh my gosh.
And don't forget, you're getting an extra quarter point per reception compared to this.
Right.
At 19 points per game from week 9 on.
Oh, and you're including week 18 too, where he barely played.
No. I stopped at 17.
Oh, okay, cool.
That is the equivalent to QB 15. Is Russell Wilson a top 15 quarterback? Is Russell Wilson enough above a top 15 quarterback that you wouldn't just take the known, take the young, take the... I don't know if you call it a positional advantage against quarterbacks in a superflex league, but I can't believe you just made me take TJ Hockenson
over a quarterback in superflex.
But it's the answer. Like, with that 2-point premium and a guy where he got a lot of targets and there's no reason for that to change. Like, he was there long enough that it wasn't just, oh, let's just throw it to the tight end because I don't know what, he's new. Let's just throw him the ball. Like, there was none of that. Like, he was there for half a season. They had time for him to learn, time to be part of that offense, to see what that offense would be. And it was still just throwing the ball to TJ Hockenson and JJ.
Yeah, I think you make this deal, and I think you just figure out what you're doing at quarterback later on. I mean, it's possible that Russell Wilson was QB 2 or 3.
He's going to get signed somewhere.
Go get Geno Smith or Jared Goff, or you
are much more likely to replace quarterback 15 than you are tight end 2 numbers. Now, I'm not saying Hockenson is going to stay the tight end 2, but
that upside,
it's there. We see it.
And he has the ability to continue growing too. Like, if he continues to do that, I wouldn't be shocked if he's not currently ahead of Kittle and Kelsey in ADP. Now, to some of you out there, he might be already, like, in your personal values, but consensus wise, he's not ahead of those two. So he could easily bump ahead of both of them by the end of September if he continues to produce the way that he does because of age, less injury proneness, overall production, all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't be shocked if he would bump over Mark Andrews either, especially if Lamar Jackson is not on the Ravens anymore and Andrews is just dealing with some meh quarterback or whatever. So I wouldn't be shocked. Like, his ADP upside still has room to grow value-wise.
I think at this point, and I'm sorry, Peter Howard, I think Freiermuth is kind of off the table for me because I don't think the ceiling of the production is there. I think I would rather, at most points, get a positional player of equal or probably even a little less value of his than just go for him himself. But I think when it comes to Goedert and Hawk, I might still be there for a tight end instead of just waiting to go lower, waiting to just draft every positional player I've ever loved and then go take Daniel Bellinger and Dawson Knox and hope for the best whatever week plays. I choose to play each of them.
Yeah, for me, if I'm looking to acquire and buy a tight end in this tier here, if you're trying to buy Freiermuth, I would just add an additional second and just go to Goedert and Hockenson.
Yeah, go higher or just go lower. Yeah, I think. Thank you for this. I needed this. I'm going to go send some trades now because I don't want to do my day job. Oops. All right. Well, this has been the DLF Trade Show on the DLF YouTube channel. Addison Hayes at AmazeHayes _ Russ Fisher at... Wow.
Did you forget your handle?
I forgot my handle.
It's on the screen.
I know, and I think that made it worse. So I'm like, just go read it. And then I started at Russ again, and I'm just like...
At Russ Fisher FF.
Never. I had this conversation like last night. I am not doing that. I don't care. Russ Fisher at Dynasty House. Man, I hope you leave all of that in. I mean, we'll see you next time. I'm out. I got nothing.